Hey guys, so I'm going to show you how to stretch vocals and pitch vocals for breakdowns and build-ups and things like that. So what I'm starting with here is this little vocal part right here.
Love technique, love technique, love technique.
And what I want to do is I want to stretch that word love. So let's go ahead and duplicate this. What I want to do is first find out where the word starts.
Love technique, love technique.
Okay, so it starts right here. I might want to back it up just a little bit to get the L in there.
Love technique.
Okay, so I want a warp marker here, and then towards the end right here of the word. And right now we just have a 1-bar loop, so I'm going to change that to 2 bars. Now I'm just going to stretch this all the way out here. That would make that a full bar. And then the next thing that we're going to want to do is see what that sounds like. See if I can, how far I can stretch that. So it seems like about 2 bars. 2 bars. There we go. Okay. So we've got our stretch there. That's basically how we make the stretch. Only with this approach, you really don't have that much length to stretch with. So this would be like just kind of for a short break or something like that. So it'd go from something like this.
Love technique, love technique, love.
And then with a lot of builds, there are, rises as far as the pitch. And that can simply be done just by hitting transpose. And we'll start here at the base. And then you could transpose up, let's just say 2 octaves. Usually doing it by octave which is every 12, is the best way to go, because then it'll land on the same key that it was originally on. And now you've got a... And for this type of warping, you've got to experiment with it. As you can see, the rise didn't really happen. So there's several different types of warping: beats, tones, textures, and complex pro. But let's try beats here. So by setting these settings, you get very different sounds. And these are obviously to the beat. Here you can really notice the 1/8 notes, 16th notes. Lots of fun with this. With tones, you get a different type of sound. And textures also pretty different. So as you can see, you can make all kinds of different tones for your rises. So that's one approach that you can take, creating big stretched sounds. And if I had a longer loop that I could stretch out, I probably, instead of holding one note, I might even try to stretch a whole phrase or whatever. Because once it starts raising in pitch, it doesn't really matter what's there as much. The second approach that I'll show you is by using the sampler instrument. And I've just kind of set some effects and things like that here just to make the rise sound a little cooler. I'll start it from scratch here. So let me just go ahead and drag in a new sampler instrument. And then I'll drag this sound in. There we go. And let me arm the track. And I'll turn off the effects.
Technique.
What we want is, we just want this one word here. Okay, great. And what I'm doing is I'm just hitting the A key on my QWERTY keyboard, also called middle C. And that's where you're going to get the original tone. If you hit different keys, you're going to play it in different pitches. First thing that I do is I go to the modulation and I turn on the auxiliary, and then I choose something called loop start. And I'm just going to put, for now, I'm going to put the attack up to 20 seconds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the sustain to looping mode. Now what I need to do is turn this effect up so I can actually hear it. I'll just put it to 100%. And what it does is it plays a loop and then it starts kind of scanning through the whole thing at the speed of the modulation, which is 20 seconds. So it's spending 20 seconds going from the beginning of the sample to the end of the sample. And that can change by, the attack time. And obviously I could change the tone here till I'm satisfied with it. I kind of like that, but let's just see what we've got here by changing the loop settings. And I'm going to set this loop back a little bit so we hear a little bit more of the word before it starts. There we go. And then the next thing that we're going to work on is the pitch. So we'll come to our pitch envelope here. Turn that on. Now let's take it 4 octaves just for the hell of it. And now we have the attack set to 20 seconds as well. And I'm going to put the sustain up here. Great. Now we should be going from the regular pitch all the way up 4 octaves over a 20-second period, while at the same time the modulation is stretching that vocal. Next thing I'm going to do is bring this back just a little bit because the volume's just so low in here. I want the volume to kind of maintain here, so I'll have it scan through there. And then I've just added a little reverb and flange and delay just to have it tail off. So this should give you context of how this would work in the construction of a song.
La technique, la technique, la technique, la technique, la.
Okay, so obviously doing the build-up would take more work, and I'd be adding more layers and stuff like that, but that's the approach to doing that.